Hi everyone, I'm Helen. Welcome to my channel. Today's class will be a morning flow to get the energy moving and the body open, setting us up for the rest of our day. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel, and if you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with anybody that you think may benefit. So we'll start in a comfortable seat. I'm sitting with my hips elevated on a blanket. That way, where they're higher than my knees, it really enables the spine to stay straight. Shoulders are back and down and relaxed. Shoulders are stacked over the hips. Face is relaxed, jaw is relaxed. And we'll come into a mudra. So this is pranapana mudra. So take the right hand, so I'm not mirroring you here. The thumb, which represents fire energy, will press into the index finger, which represents air, and the middle finger, which represents ether. So this hand represents prana, which is the taking in of energy and us using it throughout the body. And in the left hand, we'll take the thumb, which is fire, press it into the middle finger, which represents ether, and into the ring finger, which represents earth. So this is apana energy. So that's what we eliminate out the body, taking stuff away. So together with this mudra, they make a circuit, and as we hold it and we come into a moment of contemplation, just think about things that you want to bring into your life and things that you want to let go. So with your mudra, just release the hands to the knees with the palms facing upwards, close the windows of the eyes and turn the attention inwards towards your breathing. So a nice deep inhale, nice deep exhale. Remember that spine is straight, chest is lifting towards the sky. Deep inhale, deep exhale. And keep the breathing just through the nose. Inhale, and exhale. And keep breathing like this in a pattern that suits the rhythms of your body. Keep the breaths nice and long. And just take this moment to drop into your body. Bring an awareness to any places that you're holding tension. If you're holding tension that you don't need to, just try and relax that part of the body, particularly around the jaw, the tongue, the shoulders, the neck. Maybe you're feeling a little tense in the hips. Those places where you feel this tension, just mentally send the breath there. As we start to drop in and settle, not worrying about what's going on in the outside world, taking this time on our mat, our personal sanctuary, to enjoy this time just for us. Maybe set your intention here. So I spoke about bringing things into our lives and letting things go, the prana and the apana. Maybe take this moment to consciously think of something you want to let go. Maybe it's a self-limiting belief, negative self-talk that you often say to yourself. We say things to ourselves that we would never say to other people. So when you catch yourself doing it, make a conscious effort to stop and replace it with something positive. A few more breaths here. This mudra is really energizing. You can do it anytime when you feel a little bit lethargic, want to invite some positive energy in and let go of what you don't need. Take one last deep inhale and then exhale through the mouth. Slowly open the eyes and release your hands. So you may want to shake them out a little bit, bring some energy back. I was holding that mudra for a little bit of time. But we'll start by warming up the spine. So it's good to do all the movements of the spine at the start of our yoga practice because it sets us up for the rest of it, making sure we stay safe and healthy in class and we're nice and warmed up. So we'll start with a seated cat-cow. I'm going to come off my blanket because I find it easier to do this with my sit bones grounded. You can do whatever feels good for you. So on an inhale, the chest lifts, comes forward through the shoulders. As you exhale, rounding the spine, feeling that stretch all across the upper back. And exhale, inhale, chest lifts. Exhale, round. Inhale, lift. Exhale, round. 2 more. Inhale, lift. Exhale, round. Inhale, lift. Exhale, round. Come back to neutral. Place the right hand on the floor, so I'll mirror you now. Inhale the left arm to the sky and lean over to the right, making sure this left sit bone remains grounded and the bend and the stretch is coming from the side body. You can keep the head neutral or maybe look down at your hand, whatever feels good for you. Breathe here. Feeling the side of the ribs open, our breathing apparatus, all the little intercostal muscles between them. Inhale, come back up, over to the other side, so planting the left hand, inhale the right hand to the sky, lean over on the side plane, making sure that right hip remains grounded. Pick the head position that feels good for you. Focus the breath on that side body, reaching out of the waist, relaxing the shoulders, and inhale, come back up. This time inhale both arms to the sky for a twist. As you exhale, twist round to the right. The left hand comes outside the right knee, the right hand is behind like a little kickstand. Inhale, lengthen out of the waist, and as you exhale, you rotate. So we always lengthen on the inhale with the spine, and we rotate on the exhale. So a couple of breaths here. Remember, you're just warming up, so we don't need to go into the deepest twist. Always want to feel good in yoga class and not in pain or discomfort. Just going to the edge and going to your body's limits. Inhale, lift. Exhale over to the other side. Remember, lengthening on the inhale and twisting on the exhale. Shoulders are relaxed, spine is straight. Maybe looking over that left shoulder. Twists always come from the mid-back, not the lower back. The lower back shouldn't twist at all. So you're turning from the waist. Then inhale, lift the arms back to center and come over and come into tabletop. So hands are directly underneath the shoulders, knees are directly underneath the hips. We'll work on spinal balance, so bringing some energy to this core area, which includes the back. Really ground down into this right hand, which is directly underneath the right shoulder. Inhale the right leg back, engaging the whole of the back of the leg. This core is sucked in. Inhale, left arm comes forward. Hold here for 5 breaths. So really belly to the spine, Shoulders are relaxed. Limbs are extended. It's about 5 breaths. Release back down, second side. So grounding the left hand underneath the left shoulder. Set yourself up for success here. So get the alignment. Inhale that left leg back. Inhale, right arm forward. Engage in the core. Lengthen out the spine. Lengthen in these limbs as long as you can. Keep them engaged. Deep breaths. Pelvis is neutral, so both hip points facing towards the floor. And release down. We return to the first side. Get a little bit of shoulder opening. So this right leg comes back and then bend it so the foot is on the sky. Inhale this left arm forward, maybe reach round and grab the right foot. If this is not within your reach, just imagine that you have hold of it, or you can always use a belt. And then inhale, lift the chest, push the hand or the foot into the hand for, I think this is called tiger. So imagine you're a tiger, strutting through the jungle, puffing out your chest, drinking in all the air, wonderful tropical scents that you find in the jungle, and then release back. Second side. Left leg extends back. Bend the foot or the knee so the foot is on the sky. Inhale this right arm forward, reach round, grab hold of it, and inhale, lift, pressing that foot into the hand. This is getting into the hip flexor, into the right shoulder, opening the chest. Don't forget about the core. Deep breaths. And then release. Hand comes down. Take a very brief child's pose. Keep the knees together or the knees wide. And inhale, come back up. We'll move into downward facing dog. So move the hands about 1 handprint in front of the shoulders. Triceps are rotated under. Feet are around hip distance apart. Tuck the toes, use the core, and start to bring the sit bones to the sky. So you can always keep the knees bent, especially first thing in the morning if you're feeling a bit stiff. And then just start to gently pedal out the feet. Bending one knee, then the other. Maybe pulling the hip back of the straight leg. Just getting a little bit of mobility and freedom into the backs of the legs. Sit bones are going towards the sky. Feet are squeaking on the mat. And then maybe start to settle. So really grounding down into the hands, the whole of the hand. Those triceps are rotated under with the upper back wide. Sit bones to the sky. Core is engaged, belly's inside. Heels descend, they never have to touch. So from downward facing dog, right leg lifts to the sky. Inhale, right knee comes into the chest. Hold here for a breath, really sucking in that core. Then release the right knee down to the middle of the mat. Rotate on the knee. So your right shin is parallel to the short edge of the mat. Inhale, come up into gate pose. So the left leg is extended out. Foot flat to the floor, in line with the knee. Torso is above the hips. Inhale the arms to the sky. And exhale, tip over to the left with the left hand coming on the outside of the left thigh. reach out of the waist. Few breaths here. Parigasana, gate pose, really opens up the side body. Then inhale back up. Exhale, rotate back round. Tuck those left toes. Right leg back up to the sky. Downward facing dog. Second side, left leg lifts. Inhale forward to plank with the left knee into the chest. Exhale, drop to the center of the mat. Rotate so the left shin is parallel to the left edge of the mat. Lift the body up. Come up and we'll do gate pose the other side. So I've got my back to you. Leaning over, reaching out of the waist. Foot flat to the floor of the extended leg. Keep it in line with the knee. Deep breaths. And inhale, come back up. Exhale the hands down, tuck the back toes, back to three-legged dog. Foot comes down, downward facing dog. On an inhale, we'll roll forward to plank. Hold here for 5 breaths. So warming up the core, zipping up the whole of the front body. Shoulders are slightly protracted, keeping that belly tucked in. Thighs are engaged, the whole of the legs are engaged. And then ground into the right hand. And we'll come into side plank on the right hand side. So right shoulder is above the right wrist. You can stack the feet, you can stagger them, you can even do this. Really zip up that midline, stacking the shoulders. Core is engaged. Really engage in the obliques here. Deep breaths. This is also known as strong arm pose. Keep those shoulders away from the ears, the arm bone plugged into that shoulder socket. And exhale, release. Come back to plank briefly. Back to downward facing dog for a bit of relief. Inhale, rock forward to plank. Go over to the other side. So I'm on my left side here. Stacking the shoulders, stacking the feet, stagger. We use this top leg to help support you. Do what's good for your body. And always challenge yourself. You never leave your comfort zone. You never leave your comfort zone. Exhale, bring this hand down. Come back to downward facing dog. Inhale, right leg lifts to the sky. Exhale, right foot steps up. We're in this low lunge. Reaching out of the waist. Plant this left hand underneath the left shoulder and inhale the right arm to the sky for this easy twist. So remember, the twist comes from the mid back. Try and keep these hips facing downwards. I know it's difficult to do that, but really try to bring your awareness there and finesse the pose, keeping the hips facing downwards. And from here, keeping this left hand planted down on the floor, rotate the feet to both face the right side of the mat for this hip stretch. So the top arm is going back towards the back foot, really feeling it in these hips. You can sink if that feels okay. And inhale, come back up. Back to three-legged dog. Downward facing dog, second side. Inhale, left leg lifts. Exhale, left foot steps up, low lunge. Plant this right hand underneath the right shoulder. Inhale, left arm to the sky. trying to keep the hips facing downwards. Twist coming from the mid-back, shoulders away from the ears, grounding into the front foot. Back leg straight and strong. Deep breaths. And then moving into that hip stretch. So rotating both feet to the left side of the mat. Top arm comes back, facing the back foot. And sink the hips down. Keeping the shoulders engaged. Really feeling that stretch in the outer hips. Then inhale, come back up. Three-legged dog. Downward facing dog. So we're nice and warmed up in the shoulders and the hips and the core. We'll start to flow. Inhale, right leg to the sky. Exhale, right foot steps up. Ground to this front heel. Inhale, high lunge. 5 breaths here. Really keep that back leg straight and strong. Shoulders away from the ears. Front ribs are in. Core's engaged. Scissor the thighs. So pulling this right hip back and the left hip forward. Feeling the stretch in that left hip flexor. 1 or so more breaths here. Then inhale, lean forward out of the waist for aeroplane lunge. So pulling this right hip back, using the strength of this core. Shoulders are relaxed. Breathe here. And inhale, come back up. Circle the left wrist with the right fingers. We'll come into double crescent, which is leaning over to the right. So pulling this right hip back, left hip forward, feeling it in the left hip flexor. Left side body. Deep breaths. So this is a balance. So get a fixed gazing point, it will really help you. Inhale back to center. And then we cactus the arms open and lift the chest to the sky. So opening the chest, opening the front of the shoulders. Maybe look up at the sky. You don't have to. And inhale back to high lunge. Plant the hands. Step back. Plank. You can take a vinyasa or go straight to downward facing dog. Whatever feels good for you. Second side. Left leg lifts on an inhale. Exhale, left foot steps up. Get your stable base. Ground the whole of that front foot into the floor. You're on the back toes. Inhale, come up. High lunge. 5 breaths here. So scissoring those thighs. Right hip coming forward, left hip coming back. You're on the ball of the back foot. Back leg straight and strong. Front knee over the front ankle. The whole of that front foot. Suction cup to the floor. Front ribs are in, shoulders are relaxed. Deep and even breathing. I think we've been here for 5 breaths now. So on an inhale, we lean forward out of the waist for this airplane lunge. Deep breaths, pulling back this left hip, right hip coming forward. Steady breathing. I know this is a hard pose, but stick with it. Building lots of strength in the legs, lots of strength in the core here. Then inhale, come back up. Circle the right wrist with the left hand and we'll do double crescent to the left. So pulling this left hip back, right hip coming forward, leaning out of the waist. Long, even breathing. Jaws relaxed. And inhale back to center. This time cactus in the arms, opening the chest to the sky. Gauging that front body. Almost there. Inhale back to high lunge, Vinyasa, or straight to downward facing dog. Whatever feels good for you. We'll meet in dog. Take a free breath. We'll begin again. Inhale, right leg to the sky. Exhale, right foot steps up. Get your stable base. Inhale, high lunge. One breath here. And inhale forward to this aeroplane lunge. Inhale back up. Double crescent. Leaning over to the right. So you always lean over to the side that's got the bent leg for these double crescents. Inhale up. Cactus the arms, chest to the sky. And back up. And then bring the hands behind for reverse namaste. So bringing the prayer, hands together in a prayer, and I'll just show you. If this is not within your reach, you can always grab opposite elbows. Few breaths here. In this arm position, opening the front of the shoulders, stretching out the wrists. And then release the arms back up. Plant the back heel so you have heel to heel alignment. We'll come into triangle. So if you need a block, grab it quickly. Arms are to a T. Move the hips back. Reach out of the waist. And then tip the upper body down in a T. Hand can come down to the block, the shin, the floor, the toe, whatever feels good. Ground into that front big toe mound. The front thigh is externally rotated. Inner arch of the back foot is active. Shoulders are stacked away from the ears. Lengthening out of both sides of the waist. Top arm is vertical. Maybe you look up at the hand if that feels good. Really getting into this front hamstring. And inhale, we come back up. Curl the hands down, and exhale. Take a vinyasa. Maybe you put in a double dip here. So inhale up to upward facing dog, back to chaturanga, back to plank, downward facing dog. So you don't have to do that. I like to do them every now and again to spice it up a bit. Inhale, left leg to the sky. Exhale, left foot steps up. Inhale, we come up high lunge for one breath. Inhale, forward out of the waist. Pulling this left hip back, right hip forward. Back up to neutral. Double crescent, leaning over to the left. Back to center. Cactus the arms. Chest to the sky, back to center. Reverse namaste or elbow grab. If you're grabbing the elbows, grab them the other way around, the funky way. Have you ever tried to cross your arms the opposite way to what you usually do? Try it after this class, it feels really weird. And inhale, lift the arms up, we come into triangle this side. So heel to heel alignment, arms to a T, hips scoot back, reach out of the waist and bring the hand down to wherever feels good for you. Lengthen out of both sides of the waist, torso facing the side of the mat, stacking the shoulders. Shoulders away from the ears. Maybe look up at this top hand, grounding into the big toe mound of that front foot, externally rotating the outer thigh, grounding into the knife edge of the back foot, keeping the inner arch active, and breathe. So really is a lot going on in this pose. Although it's considered a sort of basic pose, it engages everything in the body. There's lots of fine tuning you can do, and you'll find the more you practice over time, you will make very subtle changes in how you use the top arm to pull you up, cart with the hands down, take a vinyasa, chaturanga, upward facing dog, maybe back to chaturanga, downward facing dog. So adding on one more little bit to this flow. Inhale, right leg to the sky. Exhale, right foot steps up. Inhale, high lunge. Lean forward out of the waist. Inhale, back up. Double crescent. Oops, I'm leaning the wrong way. Double crescent to the right. Back up. Chest open to the sky. I've lost my balance now. Back up. Reverse namaste or elbow grab. Release. Triangle pose. Few breaths here. You're leaning on, don't dump all your weight into the right hand. Keep the core engaged to help support the body. You don't want to sink into the joints. Then inhale, come back up. Rotate the pelvis to face forward. So your feet are on train tracks. Right hip coming back, left hip coming forward. Hands come back in that reverse namaste or the elbow grab. Lengthen out of the waist and exhale, come forward over the front leg. So you can keep the body parallel to the floor, or if it feels comfortable, release down. So this is a big stretch of this front hamstring. So do whatever feels good for you. Never forget to breathe. And inhale, come back up. Release the hands. Come back to Vinyasa. Wiping the slate clean. Remember, downward dog is always an option that you can take as well. Last side. Inhale, left leg to the sky. Exhale, step up, high lunge. Inhale, come up. One breath here. Inhale, lean out of the waist, pulling that left hip back. Back up. Double crescent over to the left. Back up. Cactus the chest to the sky. Feels good. Back up. Reverse namaste or elbow grab. Triangle pose. Get your foot alignment, heel to heel. Arms to a T, reach out of the waist. Bring the hands wherever feels good for you. Stacking the shoulders, engaging the core. Using the breath. Getting into the back of that left hamstring. And inhale, come back up. Rotate the feet so they're now on train tracks facing forward. Keep these hips parallel so the hip bones are facing forward. Arms come into reverse namaste or elbow grab. Pulling this left hip back, right hip forward. Lengthen out of the waist on an inhale, and as you exhale, come forward over this front leg. Deep and even breathing. This can be pretty intense, so remember, You can always back up. You don't have to come all the way forward. And inhale, rise up. Release the hands up. Bring them down to the earth. Take a vinyasa or go straight back to dog. Whatever's in your practice and in your energy levels. Bring the knees to the floor. We'll sit back for a brief child's poses. Rotate out the wrists. Seat to heels. Release the forehead to the floor. Melt here for a moment. You can bring the arms behind you. A little bit of release in the shoulders. As you breathe here, think of that thing again that you want to let go out of your life. Every time you exhale, that apana energy, letting it go. Bit by bit. Come back up. We'll do a little fun pose. We'll do crow pose. So if you've got a block, this may come in handy. If you've got a blanket or a cushion, you can use it as a little bit of a mental crutch at the front of your mat. Even though we're not that far off the floor, there's a real fear of falling forward in crow. So sometimes if you've got something in front of you that's a soft landing, it can really help you find the courage to try the pose. So first of all, if you've got a block, come onto it like you're a little crow on a perch. So you can use a hardback book for this as well if you don't have a yoga block, but I do advise you to invest in maybe 2 yoga blocks and a yoga bell. They're really helpful, and when you have the proper props, I think you can just invest your mind a little more into your practice. So heels are together and the knees are apart. Just like move the legs in and out a little bit, like as if they're wings. Just getting some energy into this area. And then place the hands flat down on the floor. Bring your knees on the outside of the arms. And engage the inner thighs and press into your arms. So, and engage the core and lift the belly up. That energy up. So this is the kind of position you want to be in for crow. This is how it feels. Maybe you can bend the elbows and start to lean forward. So it also depends on how slippery your leggings are sometimes in these poses. So this is crow pose. So I've got my feet still on the floor, but I'm in the shape of crow. Keeping the upper back wide and come back down. Release out the hands. So again, bring the knees on the outside. So you want to get them as high up as possible onto the backs of the arms. Plant the hands underneath the shoulders. Really get that strong base. The elbows are coming in, so you're activating all these muscles here down the sides of the ribs. Come forward and start to transfer the weight. So this is it's a counterbalance for the front body and the back body. Maybe lift up one foot, put it down, maybe lift up the other, put it down, roll out the wrists. So you can try that again or come into full crow. So I'm going to move my block out of the way. In this, but you can do it from the block because the block helps you elevate your hips higher, so you're starting from a higher position and you've got less of a journey to move forward and transfer the weight. So remember, it's a balance between the front and the back body, like a seesaw. So you may feel that your face is coming quite forward, but that is actually essential for the pose, because if you're up like this, you're not really going to balance. Planting the hands, coming up. And breathe. So try and be here for 5 breaths. Come back down. Exhale, let it all go. If you did it, it's brilliant. If you didn't do it, it's also brilliant. Doesn't make you a bad person. Whether or not you can do crow actually makes no difference whatsoever to your life. But what does make a difference is how you approach it, what you're telling yourself, what you learn about yourself, and the discipline, patience, and self-acceptance that you experience as you attempt these poses. That's the whole goal of yoga. It's not a fancy pose, it's the journey of what we learn about ourselves along the way. So if you want to, if crow is easy for you, you can maybe try jumping back from crow. So you plant the hands, come back up, get that stable base, engage that core. You really got to go for it. Come up. Exhale. And then come into child. So that jump back took me a long time to be able to do. And sometimes I can do it, sometimes I don't. It's not perfect, but who wants to be perfect? Right, from here, we'll come into some seated stretches. So come onto the seat, legs extended in front, pull the flesh of the buttocks back. We'll come into Vinyasa A. So you can always use a belt here if you need to. So bringing the right knee into the chest and then planting the foot. So you've got about a fist distance in between your foot and the left inner thigh. Ground into this left hand, lengthen out of the waist. Keep this left leg active. Inhale the right arm to the sky. Exhale, you're going to come inside this right knee. Internally rotate the shoulder. So you've got the back of the arm on the shin, fold it behind. Hand is maybe on your rump. And this other hand comes round, grabbing the hand or the wrist. If this is not within your reach, you can always use a belt or grab clothing. But do get your hands in this position because it helps build the muscle memory and the neural pathways to open your body to getting deeper into it. Lengthen out of the waist and come forward. So trying to keep both shoulders parallel to the floor, descending forward. Releasing deep breaths. And inhale, come back up. Release. Take this right leg, bring the foot inside the front thigh, lengthen out of the waist, and then exhale forward for Janushirasana. Lengthen the spine, and as you exhale, descend over. So you don't have to touch the foot. Hands can come to the floor. Keeping the spine straight, and then when you can't get it any straighter, then you can descend forward. And inhale, come back up. Move into Gomukhasana. So take this bent right leg, you're going to fold it over the extended left leg. So knees are stacked. So this is quite a deep hip open as it is. This was my position for many years. If it's within your practice, you may be able to fold this foot back. You snuggle the hips between the heels. Push the knees together. Sit up. And exhale, come forward. So you can stay elevated or you can descend over. The more you breathe and release and surrender, you may find it easier to come forward. This is still quite a difficult pose for me, particularly if I've done a lot of squats and lunges and that kind of stuff. I can really feel it in these outer hips. And you'll find that every day your yoga practice is different. You may get into one pose one day and the next day you can't get into it. And that's just the way our bodies are. Our practice is not linear. So don't beat yourself up or think you're doing something wrong if you find you can't do a pose that you used to be able to. Poses do leave the body. Obviously, as we age, things change in our bodies. Our range of motion, our strength, our flexibility. Yoga helps us accept who we are though. And now come back up. We're going to do a little funky transition here. So this only works if you've got your both legs bent. So if you haven't got both legs bent, manually get yourself onto the other side. So we'll come up and we'll rotate round. We'll come up and we rotate round, all the way round to the other side. So now you should have your other leg on top. If you're sitting straight, just swap the legs over and we'll reverse that little sequence. So inhale, lengthen out of the waist, and exhale, come forward. So deep, long breath, sinking into the hips. Accepting where you are. As you lean forward and surrender and relax and let go, practice non-attachment. You nearly always find that you go a little bit deeper. If it gets too much, always back off. Never sacrifice your breath for the pose. Never let your ego tell you what version of the pose you should be in either. Let your body tell you. And inhale, come back up. Release this bottom leg. So the right leg should be straight out. Take this left leg, bring it into Janushirasana. So left sole of the foot, I nearly said palm of the foot, sole of the foot on the inside of the right thigh. Lengthen out of the waist, so you're on the sit bones. Exhale, come forward. Lengthen and then descend. Remember, hands, you don't have to touch your foot. You may be able to, you may be not. Hands can come anywhere that feels comfortable. The goal of this pose is not to grab the foot. The goal is to stretch out the lower back and turn inward, surrender, Practice self-acceptance. Inhale, come back up. And the last pose, Vinyasa A. Plant this left foot directly on the floor, fist distance between the right inner thigh and the left foot. Plant this right hand. Inhale the left arm to the sky. Then you lean forward, reaching out of the waist as far as you can, keeping this right leg active. Internally rotate this left shoulder. Maybe reach around. You've got the options of grabbing clothing, using a belt, grabbing the hands, grabbing the wrist. Surrender forward. Trying to keep both shoulders neutral. Now come back up. Release this leg. Just a little bit of wiggling. And we'll move into easy back bend bridge pose. So keep the feet flat to the floor, lengthen out of the waist, spine nice and straight and long, arms come out in front, and then use that core to come all the way down, slow motion. Bring the heels in close to the hips, reach down and touch the backs of the heels with the fingertips. Feet are hip distance apart, ground into all four corners of the feet. Engage the core and then lift the pelvis up towards the sky, lengthening out the lower back. Imagining your knees are going forward. You can take the hands and interlace them underneath the butt. Grounding the backs of the arms into the floor. This gives your chest a little bit of a lift. Breathe here. So this pose is the pose of forgiveness. Your body is the bridge, and underneath flows a river, taking away things that you want to forgive. So if there was some part of this class that you found tough and you're beating yourself up about it, forgive yourself for being human and being you, and let it flow away under your bridge. If you have the hands interlaced, release. And then lower the spine down one vertebra at a time from the top. So the sit bones come down last. Take one deep inhale here. Deep exhale through the mouth. Bring the knees into the chest for a little squeeze. We'll just finish with a twist. So arms come out to cactus. Knees are above the hips. Allow them to fall over to the right. Maybe the head turns to the left, feeling this twist in the left outer hip and the left side body. Both shoulders are on the floor as best you can. Twist is so good to just reset the spine after our practice. Get it juicing up all our digestive system, all these organs that we have inside. Inhale back to center, then go over to the other side. When we move our bodies in all these different shapes, we're stimulating so many different parts of them. Yoga is an inside job. And that doesn't mean just in the mind. Back to center. Do any movement or pose that you feel your body's craving right now before we move into final relaxation, Shavasana. So do what's good for you. And then when you're ready, release the feet out one by one to the floor. Allow the feet to flop open. Palms face up towards the sky. Shoulders are tucked under the back of the neck is long, chin is slightly tucked. The fingers are curling towards your heart, the eyes are closed. Breathing is steady, tongue is relaxed. The mind is calm. Be here for 1 minute. Start to wiggle the fingers and toes. Maybe extend the hands overhead with the feet in the opposite direction. Full body stretch. Bring the knees into the chest one by one. Give yourself a hug. And when you're ready, just roll over onto your favorite side. Come into the fetal position briefly. Then keeping the eyes closed, push yourself up to a comfortable seated position. Shoulders are stacked over the hips, shoulders are relaxed. Okay. And then with a soft gaze, slowly flutter the eyes open. We'll come back into that mudra we did at the start of class. Prana Upana Mudra. Right hand, thumb, index finger and middle finger. Left hand, thumb, middle finger and ring finger. Release the palms to the sky with the hands resting gently on the knees. And close the eyes again here. Focus on the breath, the prana on the inhale, the apana on the exhale. Reconnect with your intention, what you want to invite into your life, what you want to let go. Release. Sometimes these things are a lifelong task, but if we set the intention, we can set the ball rolling. One deep inhale, cleanse and exhale through the mouth, and bring the hands together at the heart. Thank you for joining me for this morning flow. I hope you feel all open and energized and a little bit zingy, ready to face the rest of your day. I hope to see you again soon. Thank you. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and share it with anyone that you think would benefit. I thank you for practicing with me. I really appreciate every person that does one of my classes, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care.